Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban was released in 2004 and was directed by Alfonso Cuarón. And in this movie, Harry deals with his most stressful year yet as a notorious serial killer named Sirius Black is on the loose looking for him, and he also gets haunted by the Dementors. So this movie and Chamber of Secrets were the two movies I watched the most growing up. Obviously, I still love Chamber of Secrets, so it's nice to revisit this movie and also reread the book and look into why I love this book and this movie so much. But does it still hold up? How does it compare to the book? Obviously, let's talk about it. Starting off with the positives, and one of the biggest positives is David Thewlis as Remus Lupin. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. I'm so sorry if I said it wrong. But Remus Lupin is one of my favorite characters, and not just this movie, not just the book, but in all of the Harry Potter as a series, Remus Lupin is one of the most interesting characters because his character and his storyline is so interesting. When you look at the duality of a Jekyll and Hyde character, Remus Lupin is that. He's a Jekyll and Hyde character. He's this super soft-spoken, super calm teacher, but then he's this bloodthirsty werewolf that wants to kill you. That's such an interesting character, and I love the backstory of the Marauders and seeing how they dealt with it, and it was really nice to see a good performance in the live action. Another big thing is the look of this movie, and look, Alfonso Cuarón is a Oscar-winning director for a reason. He knows how to make a movie look good, and this is one of the best looking Harry Potter movies. I'm a sucker for snow, so snow does take most of the Harry Potter movie in this one specifically because it matches the tone of like just dreadfulness and like isolation and feeling like Harry, like the walls are closing in. It fits really well, and I love that we get to see Hogsmeade with Harry. That was also really cool. You get to see Hogsmeade for the first time, and seeing Harry have fun, you get to see that really cool environment. But you also see that the movie, as the movies go on, they get like darker in color. Like the tone of colors are going from really vibrant to like starting to get more dull and dull. And this is the first movie where it kind of explores that. There's still a lot of colors, like the way Dumbledore dresses and Hogwarts itself, but when you go outside and you just see the colors that Harry, Ron, and Hermione wear, you see that they're starting to get duller as the movies go on. And this is the first one to do it. And also it helps that they got the look of the Dementors down. The Dementors are one of the most important characters in this book and in this movie because it really deals with happiness. And I think that's one of the big components of the book itself is happiness. They don't really touch on it in this movie, and I'll talk about that in my negatives, but Dementors, their sole purpose is to take out all the happiness and joy as if you will never feel happy ever again. They got the look down. They look so terrifying. And I also love the effects of the movie. When it comes, you see the lights go out, you see like the ice kind of freeze up on the windows and showing flowers die. That's such a great thing that they got from the book to show how dangerous and how terrifying these Dementors are. You feel like anytime you saw the Dementors come, you feel like this shiver go down your spine. So really well, really good job done by this production crew. Another big positive is Gary Oldman as Sirius Black. Now, I will say, Sirius is not used the way he's used in the movies is honestly a disservice to his character because he deserved to be used way more than he was in the movies. But for the time that we got him, he was done very well, and I loved Gary Oldman's portrayal. There were aspects of his character in the movie that I actually liked more than the book, which is really saying something because the book Sirius, his character was so interesting. There was a lot of layers to him, but the way Gary Oldman used him and the way he acted, I think it just worked out really well in the third book. Obviously, there's more of him in the fifth book, which is where he takes more center stage, but throughout the third through fifth book, he's so prevalent in Harry's life that I hate that they completely take him out and really butchered his relationship. Even though with what they did, it worked, they could have done it so much more. But I'm going to give Gary Oldman his flowers because he did very well as Sirius Black. The Time Turner sequence is also super cool. I actually might say it's better in this than in the book, which is really cool because in the book you can imagine it, but to see it happen in a live action movie and done so well, like you see the interactions when he's throwing the rock at his own head, when you see Hermione going, oh my god, is that what my hair looks like? That's just small things like that that make me like the sequence in the movie more than I do in the book. And seeing Harry take on all those Dementors with his Patronus charm, it was just really well done. And again, Alfonso Cuarón just knows how to make a movie look good, and this movie looks so good, and it's also written very well. And now to the mixed. Let's talk about Michael Gambon as Albus Dumbledore. Okay, do I think he gets a lot of hate for being Dumbledore? Yes, I do. But is he the best Dumbledore? No. Actually, you know what? Here's what I'll say. In this movie and in the fifth one, those are probably the best he's ever done as Dumbledore. Like, I really, truly believe that. But in all other aspects, there's just so many things that are just wrong. Like, he is just not Richard Harris. I feel bad for saying that, but when you look at Dumbledore in the book as like this, this old wise character who has like this twinkle in his eye, but there's still something about him where you feel like he truly is powerful. Richard Harris gave that. That was perfect. When you look at him, you're like, wow, that is Albus Dumbledore. Unfortunately, he did pass away, and, that's not a fault of anybody, that's just what happened. So I don't blame Michael Gambon for taking the role. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to put the full blame on him, but it's just there was something missing. I feel like I'm going to give it more to the directors and the writers for that, because he could give a performance and they could say, hey, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Do it like this. And they could have made it a little better, but he just became more zany as the movies went on. He was just all wild, and he was like crazy, and it's like you didn't know I don't know what they were doing with his character. Albus Dumbledore was always supposed to be like this failsafe for Harry. Like no matter what was going on, he was always this calm presence. And I will say, in this movie, he actually is the calm presence. He always is super calm, he's super charming. I do appreciate his performance in this one. So that's why it's in the mixed aspect, it's not in the negative aspect, because he did give a good performance. But it's just not Richard Harris, which I just feel really bad for saying that, but that's just how it is. And now for the negatives. Now look, as a movie, Prisoner of Azkaban is very well done, but there are aspects that they cut out of the book which really bother me. And the biggest one is they completely diminish Harry's love of Quidditch. Why would you do that? Quidditch is such a big part of Harry Potter's life. It's like one of the few things that make him happy, and you completely take it out of the movie. Why would you do that? Look, Dementors bring such an interesting dynamic to this movie because they take away all the happiness. And that's a big theme in this book, is happiness. Harry's not happy in the book. He has that horrible experience with his aunt and uncle, and he blows up his aunt that flies away in the sky. Then, of course, he can't go to Hogsmeade, which is where everybody wants to go. It's the coolest place outside of Hogwarts, okay? Then, of course, he can't hang out with his friends as much as he wants to because they're going to Hogsmeade. Snape's worse than ever. He has a great mentor in Lupin who's disappearing here and there, so he can't really learn how to do a Patronus charm. The Dementors keep haunting him, so he's having, like, PTSD every time the Dementors come or anytime he gets scared of that. So he's just having a horrible year, and Quidditch was, like, his one safe haven, which is why when he wins the Quidditch World Cup, he's the happiest he's ever been. It was like all the stress being relieved. And they just completely get rid of that in the movie. And as the series go on, it's like you didn't even think Harry likes Quidditch anymore, when in the book it's like his obsession. And now, while I did like Lupin in the movie, there is a small thing, a little nitpick, that I do prefer book Lupin to movie Lupin. In the book, Lupin is such a calm character. That's why the duality of the character works between the Jekyll and Hyde, because Lupin is such a calm character. Like, it's like there's not an angry bone in his body. It makes me like that a little bit more. Because in the movie, like, take for instance at the end, like what the twist happens where it looks like Sirius is the bad guy and Lupin becomes the bad guy. The way Remus looks at him, it's like, he's like giving off the vibe like, yeah, I'm this bad guy. I tricked y'all, haha. But in the book, Lupin was adamant the entire time. He's like, look, I know this looks bad, but please let me explain. Please let me explain. He was so adamant that he's not the bad guy that it created this, as a reader, you're like, I don't know if I should trust him. It's like he still gives off the calm vibe, so maybe he is telling the truth, but I don't know. Whereas in the movie, he's like giving these like evil looks like, yeah, that's right. I tricked y'all. We're gonna kill you. I just don't know why they did that, so just for me, I like book Lupin just a little bit more. Another subplot they cut out was Ron and Hermione's arguing over Scabbers and Crookshanks. So I will say, in the book, the way they argue is probably the worst it's ever been in the series, because anytime Scabbers is attacked, Ron absolutely loses his mind, and he's like, I'm gonna kill Crookshanks if you don't keep him away from Scabbers. And it creates this interesting dynamic of when Wormtail is revealed to be Scabbers, you're like, oh, it makes sense why Crookshanks was doing it. And it was like, oh, it makes so much sense. I don't know why. Maybe I just liked it. I like the arguing between Ron and Hermione. They touched on it for like half a scene in like the beginning of the movie. But I just feel like it was really important. If they just put in more of a couple more scenes of them doing that, it would have made the reveal of Wormtail really well. But I don't know. They just decided not to focus on it. And here is the next chapter of them ruining Ron Weasley as a character. The entire Buckbeak storyline was butchered. I mean, it's like, the reason why it's so well done in the book is that Ron decides, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm going to help out Hagrid. So he literally goes to the library and like looks up any time of any hippogriff cases, and he tries to make it work out because he wants to be a defense for Hagrid. That's such a great Ron Weasley moment. But they don't do that in the movie. It's like they're all sad, and then they don't do anything to help Buckbeak, and then Buckbeak dies. Why would you do that? That's such a great Ron Weasley moment in the series, and they completely leave it out, and this is just another case of evidence of them ruining Ron Weasley in the movies. I'm sorry, Rupert Grint. You did well with what you had, but you could have been treated so much better. Also, what was up with that ending? A freeze frame? What is this, 1985? Like, what's going on here? That was such a weird way to end a film, in my opinion, because you look at how the movie is, and all of a sudden he's on his fireball, and he's just like, yeah! He's like, why would you end the movie like that? It's kind of jarring, and it makes me laugh every time I see it. But I mean, I'm not going to hold it too much against it, because it is really funny when I see it, but I just thought it was a weird choice to end a movie like that. Overall, guys, I do love Prisoner of Azkaban. It still is one of the best Harry Potter movies. Now, as a movie, I'm going to give it an A, but in terms of adapting the book, I'm going to give it a B. I really do think that they changed dynamic of Remus Lupin's character. They don't use Sirius as enough as they did in the third book, especially when he starts pleading his case and the way he acts. And of course, leaving out Harry's love of Quidditch. How could you do that? I don't get it. And of course, leaving out Ron's storyline with Buckbeak. I think that was a really important character moment for Ron. They don't do it. They still faithfully adapt the main parts of Prisoner of Azkaban, which is why I do give it a B grade, but I do think they could have done a little bit better. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.